And stand up.
My dad lived a remarkable life. In his career, he did very well for himself. He was the founder and CEO of Brandon School, a groundbreaking residential treatment center for kids with behavioral problems. He was so proud to have played a role in creating a better world through Brandon. We know the impact that he had there will continue to live on. He rose to the top of his field and enjoyed surrounding himself with people that inspired him, and I'm sure who he inspired too. He was a great speaker. He loved telling people about his work at Brandon, and let me tell you, he would talk to everyone and anyone who would listen. He especially loved a captive audience, such as strangers on a chairlift while skiing in Colorado, or an Uber driver while visiting me in New Orleans. In those confined spaces, he often found a target audience where it would be difficult for people to resist listening to him go on and on about whatever subject he was interested in. Whatever he was talking about, though, he was usually right. While we all know my dad liked to talk, he also liked to listen and offer advice. For me, he was always happy to let me vent to him, to help me figure out problems and talk about life. He was always reaching out to friends and family and keeping in touch. He really was a great friend to a lot of people, as we can see by the faces here today. When you talked to him on the phone, he would start out in his usual way of bragging about where he was, what he was doing, and how happy he was to have family and friends that loved him. My dad was a self-motivated person with a focus on high achievement. Not only did he have all these amazing professional accomplishments, but he also strove to live life to the fullest in all ways. As a kid, I remember him waking up early before dawn every morning to go running. Didn't matter the weather. He ran the Boston Marathon several times. On Cape Cod, he would spend mornings making friends on the bike path and even bike the Pan Mass Challenge. If I ever slept in, he would never fail to mention all the great, amazing things that he had accomplished while I was asleep. He loved the outdoors. He would fish, motorboat, canoe, swim, and go to the beach. He had a deep appreciation for the beauty of nature and for devoting time to having meaningful experiences. He liked to do things that were difficult and challenging. Throughout the years, skiing was his main winter sport. It can be difficult to incorporate skiing into your life, especially with two small children, but somehow he did it. For years, every weekend in the winter, we would drive 4 hours each way from Massachusetts to Vermont to go skiing for the weekend. And in those long car rides, man, did he like to talk. Eventually, I got a disc man, and the rides were a little easier for me. In later years, he lived part-time in Colorado, where he enjoyed skiing, snowshoeing, and immersing himself in the mountain wilderness. He was also a sailor. When I was a child, he would take the family out on sailing trips around Cape Cod in the summer. He did longer sailing trips to Bermuda, and even as far as Hawaii. As adults, we spent some great father-son bonding time together throughout the process of helping me fix up an old sailboat. Together, we took it out on many long voyages around the Gulf of Mexico. He was tough. I remember one time while on a passage from the Bahamas, he accidentally stabbed an ice pick through his hand. At the same time, there was a heat wave and his feet swelled up. He wasn't looking too good. But he sucked it up until we reached the US, where he could see a doctor, and then we continued on. I will always cherish these experiences and memories with my father. This spring, my mom and sister and I created a new memory when we sailed out and scattered some of his ashes at sea, one of the many places where he will always be looking over us. I think my dad was often amazed at what a great life he had built and all of his accomplishments. One of the biggest was marrying my mom. When my parents were interviewed for a New York Times article on successful baby boomer marriages, my mom said, "Just make sure you marry someone who adores you." My dad said, "She looks great from the back." I saw how much you adored each other and worked hard to build a life and a family together. Thank you, Mom, for the dedication and devotion that you showed our dad. Although it's impossible not to feel saddened by this great loss, my father truly lived a remarkable life, a life worth celebrating. He was warm, kind, and generous. He took risks and had an adventurous spirit. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind and to express his love for friends and family. He always sought a greater understanding of the world and never stopped learning. He was a great father to my sister and me, and a loving husband to my mom. Although he wasn't perfect, and no one is, he had so many great qualities that I hope to carry on with me in my life. I hope everyone who knew him will carry on the spirit of Timothy Michael Callahan. Thanks for everything, Dad.